Hello and welcome to the That's So Craven podcast, your Fulham podcast from Down Under, your one-stop shop for all things Fulham. We are back after the first 3 points of the season, Fulham defeating Leicester at Craven Cottage 2-1. Here to talk it all through, we have Dave at Crave. How are we going, Dave? How did you go getting into the ground with the £1 beers yesterday?
I'm absolutely thrilled. What a great way to start the season at home, picking up 3 points. As you say, I got there really early. I was picking up a shirt. It wasn't just for the £1 beers, but
Sure.
that offer did actually create quite a lot of buzz around the stadium at about 12:30, 1 o'clock, and there was queues to go in. The club were quite cheeky. They didn't actually open the stand until about 1:10. So we were just standing outside. But the ticketing situation was fluid. It worked really well. Everyone got in pretty easy as far as I could see. So apologies if there was someone out there who, was stuck or didn't make the game, but it looked like it worked really well. And yeah, pound a pint. And the queues weren't even as big as I thought. So it was pretty easy to get served in a reasonable time. And good time was had by one and all, in spite of the rain. But yeah, it was a good day.
Good stuff. Thank you again for joining us, Dave. Dad, how are we going tonight?
I'm very well, thanks. I'm rested. It was pretty shabby a couple of hours ago, but I'm good to go now, and looking forward to it.
And Sammy, how are we?
I'm going good. I'm still a bit shabby. Because the game finished at like 2 a.m. my time, and when it's a win, I'm usually buzzing for an extra like 45 after that. So it's kind of just hitting me now. But again, I'd rather be wrecked after a win than defeated after a loss, and having to do this with you lovely people. But no, I'm doing great. Let's get the hustle on. Let's get rocking.
100%. Well, as always, just a reminder for everyone listening to please make sure you do like the podcast. You can rate us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you subscribe so that whenever we release a podcast, it pops up straight away for you on your phone, on your laptop, on your emails, wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check out our Discord. You'll find the link to our Discord on our Twitter. You can also flick us a message anytime. We'll be able to send you the invite. Really good community growing in there at the moment, and especially towards the end of the transfer window, the fact that we've got Fulham fan news in there giving us exclusives at the time live. It's a really good place to be, and it's really beneficial for those who really love their Fulham news. The other one as well to keep an eye on, cravenpod.com, where we release articles. We'll have our Man United review from Naya up pretty soon. And as always, there's articles throughout the week, including our midweek moments, which gets released on Wednesday and as a recap of all your Fulham news. But guys, let's get into the game at hand. 2-1, a good win like we've all sort of touched on already. But Dave, I'll throw to you first. We talked about in our preview the fact that these games can be a little tricky sometimes when you come up against a newly promoted side who are, still bouncing after their return back to the Premier League. And look, I think we dealt with this one pretty well.
Yeah, we did. We came out the blocks, didn't we? We started the game really well. And, first kind of 20 minutes, half an hour, the tempo was really good and we created chances and obviously scored a really, really good goal, which, really, really gave us a head start in the game. Tempos just seemed to kind of dip a little bit as the game went on, I thought. And I think maybe that's just, the squad getting match fit, the team getting match fit. Maybe that's to be expected. After Leicester scored, it was a bit out of the blue, the goal, and it felt quite an easy goal straight from a corner. That kind of knocked the winds out our sails. But we reacted well coming out the block second half, didn't we? And it felt like a 1-1 game, actually, until Kearney came on and we obviously put that move together. But yeah, look, I was really pleased. I thought the most important thing was 3 points. Getting 3 points on the board, that is just takes the pressure off, and you got to celebrate that. You could go 2 months without winning a game in the Premier League, so you just got to enjoy it while you can. And yesterday I thought we were the better team, despite not being in, first gear. And I thought we had to win it, considering Leicester, I thought, were pretty poor, didn't create much throughout the game other than that one goal. So I'm delighted, as you can tell, and there's a big smile on my face this morning.
We love to
Mm.
see it, Dave. Sammy, were you surprised at all by Fulham going with the same lineup from the last game, or was that kind of what you were expecting as well?
Oh, that we talked about it on last pod. I think Anderson and Sanderberg. Oh my god, I'm so tired. Sanderberg weren't available. So I mean, if there was ever going to be any changes, it was probably going to be then. And I think just with the current setup of the squad, Silva just kind of had to go with the same squad, which was like exactly the same as last time around, and it did work. I mean, if anything, like it was the same squad, but I mean, Pereira and Smith Rowe like were sitting so much higher that it felt very, very different to last week, and overall across the park, it just felt very, very enlightened, very, very vibrant, and it was really, really cool because like it was it's the same squad, but just played in a completely different style and way to Man U. So it felt like I was watching like a whole other team as well. And everyone was just way more involved than they were in like the Man U game. And that's obviously going to happen when you play teams that are a little bit lower down the league. But yeah, I was a little bit devastated that Anderson didn't play, but I've made my peace with that. I mean, 2-1. I can't complain too much.
Yeah, well, I think we've seen what Silva does with his new signings, and I think we all sort of agreed that it was unlikely that he was going to actually get a game. And I think Sanderberg, I know there's a few reports that he was injured. I don't actually think he was injured because I saw him training during the week. If he was injured, it's obviously a very slight niggle. But Marco did also say that we'd expect to see him play during midweek against Birmingham. So I think it's more tactical that Marco just wants to give those players some time to bed themselves in a little bit more with the squad. Dad, in terms of this Leicester team, we saw the last season, rather, the 3 promoted sides were not of a standard you kind of expect from Premier League teams. How did you feel Leicester compared to those sides?
On par. I mean, I don't think they were awful, but they. I think I remember saying to you, not very far into the game, "Geez, we're a much better side, aren't we?" Like we really were,
Mhm.
and not only did we look a much better side, but we were playing with so much more fluency and creativity and knocking the ball around. And at one point, I think you commented, "This is really yummy to watch," and it was.
Mm.
It was
Mm.
actually very attractive, and we looked um, not only a better side, but there's we haven't made that many changes, but clearly when we're on, there's a level up here, isn't there? You can see it. You know, there's something happening, and it's very exciting because there's a couple of players to come in which haven't even featured yet, and they're quality players. Um, but I think I they really didn't create much. As Dave said, the scoreline of 2-1 was quite flattering to them. I think they um, is it? Yeah, I think it would be fair to say that they probably didn't deserve that goal. It was way
Mm.
against the run of play. We defended that one moment poorly, and really they didn't look like troubling us at all. I thought, on the whole, we defended pretty well. Um, they they lost the ball. We had no trouble getting the ball back throughout the game, and I had very little concerns really throughout the game.
I think that's fair. Like like you said, I don't think this was the strongest side that have ever come up into the Premier League. They definitely, they just didn't really threaten. I think that's the biggest thing. You see some sides come out after promotion and they really push hard when they're attacking, and they do create chances. We saw it with Ipswich. I know they haven't really had the results yet, but they've had a pretty tough start with City and Liverpool up first. But at least you see them attacking and being on the front foot a little more. Leicester just looked like they had nothing. Harry Winks really struggled in midfield. Jamie Vardy, maybe showing his age, just wasn't actually getting in good positions. A couple of really poor touches. Was
when he was
constantly offside
onside.
as well. Yeah, there were real issues with players being offside and just the positioning. And look, I don't know if it's the squad depth or the talent that they've got, but if Fulham had dropped points in this game, I would have been incredibly disappointed because we were by far the better team. And this Leicester team, I think, are really going to struggle this season unless they make some pretty drastic changes and some pretty big signings before the end of the window, because they just didn't really look like they were good enough, to be perfectly honest. And I agree. We conceded that goal. It's a poor goal to concede. It's poor marking at the corner. I don't know if you've rewatched it, but Fulham seemed to be crowding the near post and just leaving the back post open. I think we had 5 or 6 players between the front post and the edge of the 6-yard box. And at the back post, it was Bassi and Muniz. Muniz was sort of shielded off the ball and Bassi just sort of got stuck. And so it was a free header at the back post. And I call that a defensive mix-up and a slip-up. And look, it doesn't look good on Bassi, unfortunately, who's probably got Cuenca breathing down his neck at the moment. But really, that was the only chance they had. Bobby Reid had a pot shot from 35 yards out, which Leno dealt with quite comfortably. But really, it was a comfortable Fulham victory. Let's go into the goals themselves. And I want to focus a little bit, especially on Smith Rowe's goal. And I'll throw to you first, Dave. It's something we have always wanted from Andreas Pereira, and we haven't really got so far, which is that player who runs into the box and creates those kind of chances. Pereira often collects the ball on the edge of the box and has long shots at goal that either get blocked or are quite comfortably saved. But seeing Smith Rowe bombing into the box and then finishing, how good was that to see, and how justified does that make his signing already?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think you'd never see Andreas Pereira score a goal like that, would you? From number 10. It's just not his game. So Marco's identified this summer that we need to have a player in that position that's going to, contribute more with goals, I think. And Smith Rowe looks like, the perfect player to do that. I mean, this is his, if we include the friendlies, he's only played about 4 or 5 games for us. He scored 3 goals already.
Yeah.
Now, I know that's pinch of salt. Friendlies are friendlies, but it just shows that he's got a bit of an eye for goal, and that's going to be huge for Fulham this season. I thought the goal itself was a really good move, actually. Obviously, we had that ball up the line, and Muniz really put his body on the line to get something on that to get the ball back to Iwobi. And I think without him making that run across and chesting that down in the way he did, Iwobi doesn't find that space in the middle. And we've seen that a few times from Iwobi now. Iwobi, I'm sorry, I meant Traore. We've seen that a few times from Traore now when he cuts in from the right into the middle of the pitch and then, puts it across the field. We saw it obviously last season at Man United in the last minute. We played in Iwobi and Iwobi scored. Saw it a couple of times pre-season. And we saw it again. So it's clearly something that we target as an attack. And yeah, he found Smith Rowe. Smith Rowe still had a lot to do, but he was running at pace. And I think the defender felt he couldn't really stick out a leg or it's a penalty. And so he was able to skip past the defender. And then what I was quite impressed was he switched foot and, finished with his left foot to the roof of the net. And that just shows that, he's got, he's comfortable both feet. He's prepared to be direct and run in. And I just think that's really exciting, for the remainder of the season ahead.
The instincts on that boy as well is ridiculous. Like, in theory, everyone should be running straight and everyone should be running hard with aggression and confidence. But it's really rare do you actually see them do it because they're usually trying to be a little bit tricky. A lot of time they're overcooking the situation. So it's just really refreshing to see somebody like him just go in with so much confidence and go, I am here to score a goal. that is what I'm going to try and do. And it's rare, and I just feel very lucky that we have this guy now. I'm glad you did shout out Muniz though, because I actually thought he played really, really well, and I was actually I felt really sorry for him that he wasn't able to like get a goal, because he put himself in a lot of good positions. And I really want to get him cooking, and I really, really want to get him that goal to actually build up that confidence. Because when that combination of ESR and Muniz is fully up and running, that's tasty. That's a tasty prospect.
Just to jump in on that, I think there's more to a striker's play than just scoring goals. And
Absolutely.
now,
Absolutely.
Muniz should have scored a goal yesterday early in the second half when Leicester gave it away. Traore cut it back, and he should have hit the target. There's no getting away from that. You could argue he may have should have done a little bit better with the header in the first half from the Robinson cross, but he's getting himself in those positions. And if he keeps doing that, the goals will come. But what we've got to focus on is how he complements the all-round play of the team. And you're still seeing a guy who's prepared to work hard, put his body on the line, use his strength. And he was, getting on the end of a lot of corners yesterday as well, I noticed, which is also really good. His aerial presence is really strong. So, I think if he'd have scored yesterday, people would have been saying, oh, fantastic, 8 out of 10. And I think fine margins, because he didn't, people are now going, oh, is he the man? Some people. And I think that's really harsh. And I think we've got to just be looking at the bigger picture.
Agree.
No doubt, Marco's not an idiot, and I think Marco's a big believer in this boy, and I just don't think he's. I don't think he's in any major risk of getting dragged. He's the man. I know Marco believes in him. I thought it was very interesting watching how on set pieces on corners, how he's being protected. He had one in front of him, one behind him, just being protected, physically protected to give him that space. And then he's suddenly, the guy in front would, run away quite quickly, and he'd suddenly arrive with a lot of space. It's quite clever. And he's getting some power behind those headers. It's looking dangerous. Really dangerous.
I think I know he didn't score, and I know people will always go back to the fact that your striker needs to score goals, and that is a fair argument. But at the same time, it felt like he got his head to maybe 6 or 7 opportunities. He got hit from every single corner. I don't think there was a corner that didn't end up on his head. And then a couple of crosses where he just bullied players, the ones where he hit the outside of the post, which was in about the 20th minute, not long after we'd opened the scoring. And again, he just sort of drifted into the back post, and you wouldn't have heard it, Dave, because you were there, but the commentators said it was very Mitrovic-esque, and he is becoming very Mitro-esque in the air, where you put the ball in there, and he just manages to win it every single time. And that, I think, is impressive, and goals will come from that. And, we saw that with Mitro quite a few times, I'd say, when the ball would get crossed into him and he'd get his head to it, but he'd be slightly off balance, go over the bar, maybe not quite make the contact he was hoping for. And I think we just have to back Muniz here, because he is going to win headers. He's going to get in the right place in the box. And I saw it multiple times with crosses coming in, and they were all heading towards Muniz. They were just cut out before they got to him. And maybe it's the quality of the cross where they were too easy to cut out. But he's in the right positions, I'd say. He's not quite getting the service that he needs at this stage. But I'm very comfortable that he's happily our number one striker. I think I'd like to see some extra quality out wide to just back him up a little bit, because I think once he starts getting better service, he's going to start scoring more goals.
I think you're right on that out wide comment. And it's kind of evident in the United game and yesterday. I know we're jumping around a little bit here, but I think it's more to have a bit more off the bench. See, I kind of feel that we're losing a bit of momentum when we make our subs at the moment. Rao, Wilson, Kearney. When the players like, Muniz, Adama, ESR come off, we don't look like scoring. And that's a bit of a concern. So I think that we are targeting a winger. I'm pretty confident we'll bring someone in. And I think it's really important just so that we can freshen things up off the bench. There's a lot of argument at the moment whether Adama should start or not, because I think we are lacking really that kind of person off the bench who can come in and make a big difference. But it's really difficult to drop him. I mean, he's got an assist yesterday in the first half. Man United, he could have got an assist if he broke down that right, if someone had got on the end on that cross. So he's creating chances and he's justifying his place from the start. So we're going to have to find other solutions to make for players to make impact, I think.
But a high quality signing on the wing would allow us to use him in a high impact way off the bench. I mean, I feel a bit sorry for him because I'm sure he wants to be more than that, but maybe that's his best role for the team, because a fit, fresh Adama against a stretched team is almost unfair, again, to the opposition. It's just a huge nightmare for them to deal with. And if you've got high quality doing all the things that Adama's doing and maybe more, and then he comes on, that is killer.
Sorry, just to answer Carl's question, I've just noticed in the chat about the goal. It was right after Kenny came on. It was one of Kenny's first touch, I think, that started the move that led to the goal. But we'd only made one sub at that point. That was the ESR one. After that is when Wilson and Rao came on. And that's when I think we lost a bit of attacking impetus.
Yeah, I think Raul struggles because we play to Muniz's strengths, which is often playing the ball into Muniz. Jimenez seems a bit more of a runner, trying to run in behind. And I think the style doesn't really suit Jimenez at the moment. So we do lose a bit of attacking impetus when we make that change. I thought Wilson was okay when he came on for Adama. I think we do obviously miss the pace of Adama, but I don't mind Wilson coming on as a sub. I think I was impressed by Adama yesterday. I think this season so far, he's shown quite a lot. He put in as many crosses as Iwobi did yesterday. He was very good in the air as well. We obviously played to him
really
often, and he was jumping early, but just his physical build meant that there's no getting around him once he's in the air. And he won quite a few headers that actually set us up and on attacks and helped us get out of defence. So I quite like Adama out wide at the moment, but I do think if we sign another winger, as we've been linked with this transfer window to end off the window, I think that could see a lot more rotation. And one thing I want to touch on, and I'll throw to you, Dave, on this one. ESR, obviously a really talented player and a level above the majority of other Fulham players. I really liked, and I don't know if you saw it during the game, how him and Iwobi were quite fluid. I saw Iwobi dropping central fairly regularly and ESR dropping wide. I saw Pereira moving forward and Smith Rowe dropping quite deep. Do you think having a player of that ability and that quality means that we can be a little bit more fluid in what we do and sometimes play sort of like a 4-1-4-1 where Pereira can go forward and that we've got the footballing IQ effectively on the pitch to be able to handle any kind of situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think Marco's kind of target that, players that can move around that front three behind the striker. And I think we saw that a bit yesterday with Iwobi and ESR kind of rotating at times. Obviously, when we made the changes, Pereira was pushed forward. But I thought we saw enough from him further back in the 8 to I think there's something there. I think that could really work this season. Pereira deeper. I think he created a chance for Adama quite early on in the game, but he's quite positive with his passing. And I don't think he kind of stood out and will take headlines from yesterday's performance, but I was really encouraged by what I saw from him, and I think there's a lot of potential there. And actually, his partnership with Lukic seemed pretty good. Lukic had an excellent game. I think we'd be remiss not to talk about that.
I'm so glad you said that.
Fantastic. And Sam, you mentioned this in the pre-game pod that you were waiting for Lukic's kind of standout game. And I don't know, question for you is was that the game?
Honestly, I mean, that's the first time I've ever seen Lukic play and think, oh, you're actually providing proper value here. I mean, I still think we were debating this actually during the game because I thought he actually played a really great game. it's a bit of an awkward one because I'm never really that comfortable with having one deep central midfielder just sweeping. Ideally, I'd like two, just for like the added security. But I thought he played fantastically. I hadn't really seen him in that role, and I don't really know like what actually changed. Maybe if just having more responsibility made him just more aggressive and more what's the word? What is my dog doing? Sorry. More tenacious and actually sweeping properly. But I thought he played fantastic. Unfortunately, I do think when Sanderberg is available, he's going to take that spot from him. But I think that's probably about as good as we're going to get from Lukic, and I'm very interested in that, like going forward in the season.
I think from the perspective of the narrative, this Lukic's form at the moment is fantastic because I'm telling you, I can't see Marco dropping Lukic while he's playing well, and Marco be absolutely rubbing his hands here, be thinking this is absolutely perfect because, I mean, look, it's a weaker side he's played against. This is not a top 4 side, whereas perhaps it's a different prospect and maybe previous concerns re-emerge in defensive midfield. But you know, I think it's fantastic. We were hoping to see some of our new boys play, but it's wonderful that there's obviously going to be a bit of competition for that spot. Couldn't be better. You know, Diop for Anderson. Diop had a pretty good game. How can you drop him? And I don't think Silva would drop him easily because
I could drop him for Anderson.
I know, but that is the kind of depth you want to foster in the team. That's when things really start cooking. When even your weakest player is actually keeping, you know, the obvious starting player out of the lineup. That's perfection. Yeah. Anyway, I'm actually really struggling with Raul at the moment. He just looks like such a kind of misfit, and maybe the biggest problem is his wage for me. I can't get past that. When I look at what he's costing us, and I know at the time when we actually signed him, there weren't too many options, and Mooney's was not yet our number 9 at all, and it seemed like a decent deal at 5 million quid and a big wage. It seemed like a dice worth rolling, but geez, like you say, as tired as Mooney's is, particularly if he's not scoring when he comes off and Raul comes on, I just think nothing's going to happen here.
Yeah, I'm not really struggling with him because I'm not really noticing him.
I wonder if you know, I kind of feel that maybe there's an opportunity to give Stansfield some minutes in those kind of opportunities. You know, throw him on and, you know, let's give him a go and see what he can do off the bench. Because you know, he's going to have to get some game time, and I know he'll probably get some of that on Tuesday night in the cup. But
I'd love him to score on Tuesday night. That will absolutely create that wonderful problem for Silva, where you go, why am I bringing Raul on?
I think the big thing is Marco he's so safe in everything that he does. He doesn't take huge risks, and it needs Fulham to be 3-1 up before Marco makes a decision like that. And I just think I agree. I'd love to see players like Stansfield, players like Josh King be able to cut in a game and get the last sort of 15, maybe even 20 minutes. But I don't think, I mean, we've even seen when we're sort of 3-4-1 up, Marco still almost just takes it too seriously sometimes and goes, no, we need to make sure we win these games and get 3 points and go home happy, rather than taking the risk and potentially throwing away points or conceding an extra goal. Because I think he takes those things really to heart, where he wants to concede less goals than we did last year, score more goals than we did last year, and get more points than last year. So trying things to see, you know, if they work, and giving some players a bit of extra game time, some of those youth players, I'd love to see it happen. But he'd be looking at the cup competition and going,
Yeah.
the Carabao Cup is the time for those guys to get minutes, and they get a full game there. They don't just get 20 minutes, which is fine.
Which makes the Birmingham fixture wonderful timing. Really great timing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And look, we'll touch on that shortly. Before we do, I just do want to wrap up the game. We did talk about the Iwobi goal, but firstly, terrible goalkeeping by the Leicester keeper. That one's hit straight at him, and it's just gone straight through his hand or something. I don't really know how that slipped into the net, but the keeper should have 100% done better. But it's really nice work from Fulham again, a really well worked move, and good to see Iwobi getting on the score sheet. Sammy?
I just want to say one last thing on that. I was watching it with Paris at the time, and Paris could not give less of a shit about football, especially at 2 a.m. And she was watching it, and she saw that Iwobi's goal, and she was like, that was actually a very good goal. And I was like, I am going to save that bookmarker and bring it up here. Continue on.
Well, because it wasn't actually a very good goal, but
yeah,
it's just like, I want Iwobi to get a shine, and praise from Paris is ridiculous. Like, that's very high.
No, it was a good finish, and look, towards the end, I do think we did drop off. And Dave, it sort of goes back to the comment you made about the subs. I didn't mind seeing Wilson come on. One thing I do want to touch on, though, Harrison Reed. Do we think that might be the last time we see him at Craven Cottage?
Possible.
It's possible, of course. Anything can happen in a transfer market, but Silva's. If you listen to what Silva's been saying over the last couple of interviews, including yesterday, they're hoping not to lose any more players and bring in one more attacking player out wide. Just before we came on air, actually, I saw Fulham Fan News posted on X that Marco was actually misquoted yesterday when he referred to an attacker and a player to fix up our back line. He'd actually meant attack line, and it was misquoted by the journalist. So we're only going to bring in one by the looks of things, and that will be a wide player. And and other than that, I think unless someone comes in with a big offer for one of our players in the squad already, and we have to replace them in the team, that's pretty much how it's been kind of set out to me from what I'm seeing.
Tony Khan's in town. You never know what'll happen. And he loves a deadline day deal, loves a deal sheet. So, look, it'll be interesting to see what Fulham do in the transfer window from here. We're kind of not used to the fact that we're going to go into deadline day fairly quiet at this stage. Usually everyone's clamoring and saying, can we please sign 3, 4, 5 players on deadline day? This time round, it's maybe Fulham might sign one, but it wouldn't surprise me if we actually did no business on deadline day because we've kind of closed the doors on a lot of things. Some interesting insight on the Discord from Fulham Fan News saying Marcus Edwards is someone that we're looking at from Sporting. Stephen Bergwijn was at the game as well yesterday, apparently, and his agent's been touting him around. So there's definitely, it looks like there's a winger to come. What player that is, I'm not sure yet. I think we've probably been talking with them for 4 weeks and that news just hasn't been leaked somehow, similar to the Sander Berge news. But look, it's exciting times because I think if you look at the squad where it is at the moment, and like has been mentioned as well, Diop had a pretty good game yesterday and he's probably in line to be dropped. Lukic had a very good game yesterday. He's probably in line to be dropped. And we're seeing players playing in new positions as well. Someone like Pereira is now taking the number 8 for himself that Lukic maybe would have been looking at and going, well, Berger can sit in the 6, I'll sit in the 8 and that'll be fine. ESR could potentially play out wide left. We've seen there's a lot of permutations that are sort of now open to us with this squad, and the depth is starting to look really, really good. And I'll release as if it's really important, but I'll share on Twitter the depth chart that we've been putting together because I think when you look at it, you see the depth of the squad and the fact that our second 11 now is a second 11 that probably challenges that Leicester team from yesterday and some of the newly promoted sides, which makes life very exciting for us for this season. To answer a question on our live chat, how many loans are we exactly allowed? I believe it's 4 loans per season, 2 of which can be domestic loans. So all of those slots are open to us at the moment. So there might be options for loan to buy. There might be just some players who pop up, as they usually do on deadline day. We will wait and see. Let's have a very quick look at the stats from the game. We'll just fly through these. Fulham with 54% possession to Leicester's 46%. Fulham 18 shots on goal with 6 on target. Leicester just the 10 shots on goal with 4 on target. 538 passes to 454 in favour of Fulham, 7 corners to 5 in favour of Fulham, and Fulham with more fouls, 14 to Leicester's 13 fouls. Guys, let's jump ahead a little and look at the midweek game. It's a Carabao Cup game against Birmingham City at St Andrews. Sammy, I'll throw to you first. Give me a handful of players that you'd like to see make appearances in this game and start and hopefully play the full 90 minutes as well.
Ooh, Stansfield for me is the obvious one. I'd love to see him get like a proper run because I think there's a lot of potential there. I guess I kind of want to actually see Josh King. I don't think he'd start, but I'd like to see him at least get a run just to at least familiarize myself with him a little bit more. Actually, I would like to see Traore play, just because I think the more minutes he gets, the better at this stage. I don't feel that I need to see Iwobi play, but I'm not really sure. I mean, even like Gatto, I'd be pretty interested to see like how he goes, because I mean, he had a great spell. Was he at Wigan last year? Was it Wigan? Yeah, he had a great spell there. So I'd like to see what he can potentially add to the squad. I mean, especially against a side like Birmingham as well. That's a pretty good place for him. And in an ideal world, I'd love to see Sander Berge there. And I would understand if Anderson wasn't there. I don't think I want to see Bender. Because from everything that I saw preseason, I'm like, I'm not sure if you're ready yet. But I guess even if he was there, it's good experience.
Dad, do you think Fulham will be taking this game as a chance to give some youngsters a run, or do you think this is more? Or do you think there's going to be a focus from Silva on actually progressing in this competition? Like, how important do you think the result is for Fulham in this game?
Oh, look, I think if you think about the last couple of seasons, Marco has taken the cup runs fairly seriously, particularly once we start making some decent progress. But I can't help feeling that this is almost like a little sidestep where it's a in-season opportunity to have a bit of a pre-season friendly kind of trial. And I think he's still working things out. He's got these players very, very late in the window. And as much as he doesn't really need to see what Anderson can do and Berger can do, I'm sure he's very keen to see what they can do in this squad and how it works. So whilst it's not, I think he's, look, we talk about this all the time. Marco Silva, sadly, is less interested in this Fulham team in this moment in history and time in development than he is in actually progressing the project. So I think all roads lead to how do I prepare and get this team tuned to finish top half? And if the Tuesday night's game is an opportunity to actually have some match practice for some of these new players, he's going to do that over a development run.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Dave, who are you most excited about seeing in this game? Obviously, there's potential debutants, there's some youth players. Who are you looking forward to watching?
Well, yeah, I think it will be the kind of the second team predominantly that will feature in the game. I think the question, it might give us some clues as well as to what kind of, are we going to keep the same side next Saturday at Ipswich? So, for example, if Diop starts on Tuesday night, that might be a clue that Anderson's going to come in on Saturday, for example. So I'll be looking out for little kind of clues like that to see if there's anything in it. But I'd predominantly think it will be around the second string. So you'd expect probably Bender, probably Sessegnon will get a run out, which would be great. I think Cuenca, it'll be a good opportunity to see him. I'm excited to see him play. You'd think Castagna will come in at right back. He needs minutes. Probably Harrison Reed will come in, perhaps Berger as well. So that will be exciting. I think there is definitely an opportunity to see Stansfield, whether that's through the middle or off the left. He may pay Rao through the middle and Stansfield off the left, is like he did in the Hoffenheim behind closed doors game where the second team played. It could be an opportunity for Josh King to come back in that number 10 role. So that'd be exciting if he did. And then you'd think Harry Wilson will get a run out. So I'm expecting a team roughly around, like that. But you never know. This is a competition that we went really far in last year. So we don't want to go out first round. We want to. I expect he still wants to win the game, Marco Silva, but he has to also balance that with giving these guys some minutes. So, yeah, but it'd be good to see those guys, as I say. And I think to answer your question, probably Cuenca and Stansfield would be the two I'd be most excited to see.
I think additionally, it's great to see potentially Stansfield run out against Birmingham, who were, incessant during the summer that they were going to be signing Stansfield, and would love to see him put one in the back of the net, knock them out of the cup nice and early. Luke Harris also won't be involved as he's obviously unable to play against his parent club. So that drops one out of the Birmingham lineup. Birmingham have got off to a pretty good start in League One. They're expected to absolutely sweep it with the team that they've put together and the money they've spent. So be interesting to see how they do get on. It'd be interesting to see how Fulham go, a second team playing effectively a lower championship side. I think we should hopefully walk this one. I hope we see Diffuge play. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't, purely because I expect us to try and give Anderson and Cuenca both minutes. And really, I think it lines up for a Diffuge loan at some point in the near future. Similarly, if we sign another winger, I expect we'll probably see a Stansfield loan as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if they don't get minutes. But I hope we see some youth players. I'd love to see Josh King get another run out. He looked pretty good in pre-season. He's had a good start to the year with the under-21s as well and under-18s. He's got a few assists already and is, making his mark. I'd love to see him get a few more opportunities with the first team and I don't think he's made his debut actually for us yet. So it'd be good to see him make his competitive debut for us. Quick predictions from everyone for this game. Dave, I'll throw you first.
Probably be tight. I'd like to think we can win it in normal time, but I think it'll be tight. It could be one of those games where it's kind of penalties again, but maybe a 2-1 win for Fulham if we can take our chances.
Nice, Sammy.
Oh, I'm going to be a little bit more optimistic. I'm going 3-1.
Slightly more optimistic, Dad. On mute.
You're on mute.
Sorry, guys. We're assuming that Leno will not play, and so that's going to be interesting to see how clean a sheet we can keep here. But I'm assuming we're going to leak a goal. I'm feeling 2-1 to us.
Yeah, I don't think Bender is quite as bad as everyone is making him out to be. I don't think he's a great keeper, and he's not the same level as Leno, but I don't think we will have any issues with him. I see 2-0. I think if you look at our second 11 backline of Sessegnon, Cuenca, potentially Diop or Anderson, and Castagna, that backline should keep out a League One side comfortably. And this is already a team who are still early season for Birmingham. I think they've already played 3 or 4 games this year. So they'd be looking at the Carabao Cup and going, do we really want to put a full team out? Do we need to focus on winning the league here? If, the most important thing is getting back into the championship. Do we need a long run in the Carabao Cup? Maybe not. I think if you're a League One side as well, you're in the EFL Trophy. Actually, no, they got relegated from the championship.
I reckon you're right,
I
Jack.
think you might miss out. Right. But I can't see us conceding a goal here. I'm going to say 2-0 because I don't think we have the attacking edge with the backup wingers in Stansfield, Goddo, Wilson, and Jimenez up top. So yeah, 2-0, still tight but comfortable if that's possible. Let's have a quick look. I'll just touch back on my top tips from last week because I got slightly close. 3-leg multi didn't quite come off. We missed with the Muniz anytime goal scorer, but Smith Rowe did get a shot on target for the game, and both teams did score in the game as well. So we were very close to pulling that one off. To another segment, and this one's a new one. Sammy, I'm going to hand this over to you. Sammy's new segment, Let's Debate.
All right. I'm going to use every ounce of energy I still have left on this. So let's debate. It's a quick fire thing where I give you guys a subject matter. Now, typically it would be a 3-person podcast, but we have the lovely Dave here. So I'm going to pit family members against each other. I've already done the spinny wheel because we did it before and that took about 10 seconds. So I can confirm that in favor will be Elton. And the against will be Jackalis. So the statement is, in light of recent signings, specifically Emile Smith Rowe, a different level of skill and tenacity has got me thinking that requires pros and cons. Now, is experience overrated when signing new players? Pros, cons. And to spice it up a little bit, you have 1 minute to make your case. Now, do you need a couple seconds to think about this? Because me and Dave can make jingle music. Or
I'll just recap that and simplify it because you can't say "is" before a debate question.
Okay.
The statement, experience is overrated when signing new players. So, Dad, you're for, and I am against, as per the wheel. Is that correct?
As per the wheel.
And
Now,
Dad is going first because I need time.
Okay. Now, I'm going to start the timer.
Before
you ready?
do, would you like me to play the jingle that you cleverly put together earlier?
Oh, please. I was wondering when we were going to factor that in. But yeah, give Dad a chance and play the jingle. Run
Fingers crossed technology works.
Just as Sam, if you got a question, maybe right at hand. Just as Sam, if you got a question, maybe right at hand. Just as Sam, if you got a question, maybe right at hand. Just as Sam, if you got a question, maybe right at hand.
I thought that was for the Discord.
Do you know what? It actually is, but I don't care. Let's make it that one. It's great. It's great.
Nice vocals, Dave, from David Craig. Nice vocals.
Yeah.
Recording contract in the works.
You always got to remember as well, and this is what Dave isn't used to. If you give me something like that, I will use it.
You run with it, yeah.
Okay. All right, Dad, you ready for your minute?
Yeah, why not?
Okay,
I believe so deeply.
Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's debate.
Well, clearly this is a ridiculous statement because, it is experience is overrated because if someone is highly talented and you can look at their statistics and they may be young, they may have had no experience at all in the Premier League or in the high leagues, but if they are clearly of very, very high quality, then they can have an impact. I think it's probably a bit of a layered question in terms of the fact that experience
20 seconds.
Has context, and I think experience in, I don't know, the Malaysian league, not to diss Malaysia,
10 seconds.
Is probably irrelevant. I'll end it on there. I'll end strong.
With the Malaysian league, sure, great.
I tell you what, I'm feeling a lot more confident after your key point to finish up was the Malaysian league.
Okay, all right. And Jack, are you ready?
Absolutely.
Okay, and let's debate.
Experience is definitely not overrated. Look at players that we've signed that have done the job for us. Willian is probably the best example in recent times. You bring in someone who has that level-headedness, that extra ability on field to just take you to another level, and it's because they've been there, done it. Players who win Champions Leagues, win Premier Leagues, they come to smaller teams and they dictate the play. They make a change in the change room as well. You look at those players who've been around those Premier League changing rooms for years and years, and they just slot in seamlessly, and they change the way the other players around them think. They change the
20
way they
seconds.
play on the field. You cannot discount experience and what that means when you look at signing players. And I think that's actually something that
seconds.
Marco has said multiple times. I want players with Premier League experience. It's why he chased Scott McTominay so hard. It's why we've signed Anderson, Sander Berge. Can't say it enough. Experience is not overrated.
Now,
There we
Dave,
go.
you make the final call on both great Malaysian and non-Malaysian debates.
Yeah, well, do you know, the question does kind of translate to Fulham at the moment, doesn't it? Jack just alluded to it. It's Marco Silva's strategy. This transfer window is to be bringing in players with Premier League experience. You know, Anderson and Smith Rowe and Berger are all prime examples of that. Obviously, previously it's been a strategy. You look at Wobie and Willian and players like that we've brought in the past, and they've all done really well for us. So it's clearly Marco Silva's favoured way of doing it. I think Jack, you know, he articulated that point really well. Yeah, Elton kind of lost me when we started talking about the Malaysian leagues, I'm afraid, Elton. So I think we're going to have to give the win to Jack today.
And
Well,
that's the debate.
This is not the first time that I've had to defend your ridiculous ideas, Sam. But anyway.
Hey, you know what? We do it for the community, and you know what? If the community liked it, we will keep it up. But I had a great time. And yeah.
Yeah, just be thankful you're defending Sam's comments on a silly football podcast and not in a court of law. Could be much worse.
That is true. That is true.
Guys, I think we've probably wrapped this one up completely. Look, a really good result for Fulham. 3 points on the board is always important. Fulham move up to 10th in the league. Means nothing at the moment, but you don't want to be a side that's going into their third game with no points. You don't want to be a side that are struggling when you're coming up against tricky little fixtures like games against Ipswich, who will be out there looking to get points. A good way to finish off the first game at the Cottage as well. And I think there's some really exciting things going on at Fulham at the moment. There's, exciting signings coming. There's good results, as a few people mentioned in the chat as well. The women's team on the weekend had an amazing result, looking really good. The under-21s, the under-18s are doing well at the moment. Fulham released a purple kit, which Dave just absolutely loves. Everything's going well at It's exciting times at Craven Cottage, and I'm looking forward to the game midweek to see a few new faces out there, and looking forward to Ipswich on the weekend as well. So, guys, we will touch base later in the week to preview that Ipswich game. Thanks very much for joining tonight, Dave.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. And as I say, you can go a while before we get on. It might be a while before we pick up another win. So I hope it isn't, but just enjoy them when they come. Really enjoy them. Keep that warm feeling inside you all week. And we might follow it up on Tuesday with another win. And there's another opportunity next Saturday against the newly promoted team. So we'll also get some excitement during the week with another winger coming in. Looks like that's something the club are going to really push for. So yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun today discussing that with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dave. Sammy, thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me. I apologize. I feel like I've been very, very scattered this pod, but I've had a wonderful time. Also, as well, if you go into our Discord as well, there is a new section where if you really want to, it's actually called Just Ask Sam, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's me being a little cult leader, and it's getting pretty chaotic in there. So if you want to indulge, you can find me there in the Discord. That's where I'm frequenting now.
It is the absolute dark side of the internet. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Dad, for joining tonight.
Yeah, thank you. I'm 100% behind Dave. I think this is something that people don't probably do enough, particularly when you're a mid-table team with the kind of history that Fulham have had over the last few years. You absolutely have to soak up and savor these moments and really enjoy it. We had a win. We got 3 points. We might just go on a little run here. We're going to win on Tuesday and another win against a weaker side that could just set us up with our new squad. It's exciting times. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone who's joined on the live stream on YouTube. Really appreciate all the interactions we've had. Appreciate people as well who continue to download, listen to the podcast, which you can get on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, anywhere you listen to podcasts. You'll find all of our links on our Twitter and all over our social media as well. Please do, like I said, subscribe to the podcast, share it with your friends. Rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. It does make a difference. And as always, come on, you Whites.